Hi, my name is Kerry Goulder from Kid Giddy, and I'm here today to show you how to make the pants using my new doll clothes die with Sizzix. What you'll need is the Sizzix doll clothes die. You'll need the large cutting pads if you're making the full length pants, but you can use the shorter cutting pads if you want to make a pair of capris, bloomers, or shorts. You'll also need some fabric and a sewing machine with some scissors to clip threads. So we're going to start by laying down our fabric. I'm actually using a directional print fabric, so I want to make sure that my fabric is going to end up in the right direction when the pants are completed. So I want to make sure that the fabric lays on the die the correct way. So when you're laying down the fabric, or when you're cutting the fabric as well, make sure that your stretch direction is going from side to side. Fold it in half. So now I've got 4 layers, and I'm going to lay them right on top of the die for the pants. If you want to make a pair of capris, a pair of bloomers, or a pair of shorts, you can decide the length. I haven't measured any of these. I just eyeballed it to wherever I wanted them to be. I could just cut this piece of fabric. I could just pull it up here and cut the top off. However long you want to make them, or however short you want to make them, just decide that now before you start cutting and play with it. You never know what you'll come up with. So I'm going to line up my fabrics. I got to make sure I get that little point. I've got the edges, and I'm going to put it right through my die machine. This die cut works on the Big Shot as well as the entire Big Shot family. Now we have all 4 pieces of our pants cut out, and we're going to place 2 pieces right side together and the other 2 pieces right side together. And we're going to sew just this little small seam right on the inside. I always like to start with a little piece of fabric underneath my foot so that the little edge of my pants don't get chewed apart. And I'm just going to chain piece this. I'll stitch one and then I'll stitch the next right afterwards. You want to back stitch the beginning and ends of your seam. Just come right around that curve. Pick up your foot if you have to. Make sure your needle is down. The seam allowance here is 1/4 inch. And it's okay to go slow around the curve. You want to make sure that you really don't drive off the course. And back stitch at the end. Okay, now I'll put my other piece in. The pants pattern does not fit the fox, unless you want to hack it. Okay, so now we have 2 pieces, the front and the back. We're going to line up our corners, the top corners, and we're going to sew from the top all the way to the bottom, lining up the whole edge. We've sewn the inseam and the outside seam. And now we're going to sew the inside seam down around the bottom of the legs. First, we're going to match up the center seam, and we're going to pin that in place. You want to open up your seam allowance just to lay it flat. I'm just going to pin the center seam right here in place. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start from one end of the leg, the inside corner, all the way up and down to the other corner. I'm going to back stitch on both ends, and I'm going to back stitch right here in the center seam as well. All the seam allowances on the pants are 1/4 inch, just a pretty standard 1/4 inch. When you finish sewing all the seams on your pants, we're now going to trim off our threads, and then we are going to hem the bottom and hem the top. And all we have to do is a simple rolled edge hem. I'm going to open up my seam allowance again, just flatten that out. And I'm just going to find my little 1/4 inch approximately. This is again up to you. If you want to make your pants shorter or longer, you can make them shorter or longer. You can roll a really thin hem, flatten out this seam allowance as well. So that's one roll, and now you want to do a second roll. Once you got the first roll, it's a little easier. And then we're going to stitch all the way around those rolls. Same for the top. Once you have the first roll, you'll do the second roll. If you want to pin your rolls, you can do that as well. I find once I flatten them out a little bit, they don't really move around too much. I like to start sewing the hems at a seam allowance. That way you won't get a back stitch, too much thread showing. I also like to sew so that even though this is turned right side in, I'm actually sewing on the correct side. So if my tension is a little off underneath, you won't see that on the top. And once you've done a little bit, just rotate it a little, move it outward, and keep going all the way around, and then do the other side and the top as well. We've sewn our top hem and our bottom hem on the legs. We're just going to turn our pants right side out, and they're basically done. I mean, easy peasy, right? If only it was that easy for me to make a pair of pants for myself, I would be a happy lady. So here's our pair of pants. I want to show you a couple of things that you can do to really customize your pants. So I'll show you with some of the examples that I've made before. To make a pair of pants with a faux pocket in the front, you want to take a little piece of fabric, tuck under the corner of your pants, and lay it down right on top of the other piece of fabric, and then top stitch that. I'm going to show you what to do right after that. So I'm just going to lay a little top stitch right here. You don't have to worry about back stitching or anything. Fold this piece on top of it, and now we're going to trim that little extra off the edge. Now we have a little faux pocket on the front of our pants on one side, so we'll have to do that on the other side. But we also want to make sure that we trim off this back piece. So hold down the front or the top, because you don't want to cut that off, and then just trim it about 1/4 of an inch away. You can trim off these little dog ears if you want. Not a big deal. Okay, now to do the other side, you can match up this front, fold it down, okay, crease it, give it a nice little crease so that we know it's exact, and then lay it right down onto the fabric as well. Then you pull this top one off, and you sew that piece right there. Again, you don't have to back stitch it in the beginning or the end. And then we are going to trim off our edges the same exact way. So now we have this piece here, fold it over, and we're just going to trim it off. So there you have front faux pockets that you can add to your pants to customize them. You can jazz up your pants any way you like. You can add some little tiny buttons to the front so that you've got these nice little pair of capris that look very realistic. Faux pockets. I've actually added little tiny pockets on the back. These are working pockets, so you can actually stick something in there. And all I did was I took the little tab, two sides right side together, sewed them up, turned them right side out, stuck the little hem together and top stitch it, and then I stitched them right to the pant. Really simple, really quick and easy, but it adds a really great little detail to your pants. You can also make a little pair of bloomers, complete with a little teeny tiny rose. You can cinch the bottom. So on this one, I did just a single rolled hem, but a nice thick one. And then I can take some elastic thread and stitch it all the way around to cinch it a little bit. And that makes a really great little detail too. Now that you know the basic construction of the pants, you can make whatever you want. Shorts, capris, bloomers. You can use old denim jeans. Make it whatever you want. Have a lot of fun. I can't wait to see what you make.